Really, I went from being like a full-time student and half part-time in the business to full-time business and, like just trying to get by in school. Eventually dropped out after my freshman year, but it was about 5 months into our wholesaling business starting in January 2020. We got our first deal, and that all came from cold calling by ourselves. It was 9 to 8. We each had a dialer, and we would just get on it for as long as possible. We started with one dialer, and then we made some money, and then we were able to each get a dialer so that now we could have a bigger pipeline. And obviously we started closing more deals as that happened.
All right, boys, let's get it. We got the Donis Brothers here, Jeffrey and Kerwin. Appreciate you guys coming on the show. How y'all doing today?
Doing
Good.
well.
Thanks for having us. It's
Yeah,
an
thanks
honor.
for having us, Matt. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's dive right in. Hot market right now. Things are going good. I see you guys, teaming up as brothers and just jumping in. Super cool to see that, and probably a lot of fun. And I can imagine, you guys grew up fighting in some situations, and which would make disagreements a little easier because you understand each other better. But it's cool with you guys. Tell me a little bit about yourselves and your story, and let's just talk some real estate.
Yeah, I can start us off. My name's Jeffrey Donis. My brothers and I, we pretty much come from a low-income background. My mom's a single mother. She was an immigrant from Guatemala. She moved here when she was very young. She's a legal resident now, but just growing up, we obviously were very conservative with money. We'd see her struggle with the bills. She'd always tell us to turn off any lights we weren't using, and she would yell at us if we left the TV on or we fell asleep with the TV on. So just growing up around that environment
No
really made it.
if you were to go out to eat, get water, all that kind of
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No. I mean, honestly, we wouldn't go out too much, but when we did, she typically would allow us to get whatever we want. But honestly, I would always feel guilty about asking for things. So growing up, I actually never really asked for anything. We were pretty frugal, and we still are. So good and bad. Good. It's definitely good because it enabled us to, I would say, make the most of the resources that we had. But yeah, no, I'll let Kerwin kind of just chime in here. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, low income background and Kerwin.
Yeah. So throughout high school, I think we all kind of did our own thing. We played soccer, but it wasn't until right before Jeff and I were joining or about to start our freshman year of college is when we were first exposed to Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I read that book leading into my fall semester. And I always like to say that that's the book that broke me. I really learned a lot about entrepreneurship, and it just broke the mold of the mindset that I had around the 9 to 5. Before that, I wanted to be on the law track, so I wanted to go to law school. And after that, I really wasn't the same. And it wasn't until that December, leading into January of 2020, we went to Guatemala for the first time, and we firsthand saw all of the extreme poverty that our family lived in the conditions they lived in. It's great country, beautiful. They're very humble and grateful for what they have. But that was the first time we really realized that we won the lottery by being born here as first generation Americans. And I mean, technically, yeah, we're low income in this country. We were, but that's nothing compared to the poverty that other people around the world face. So that was really hit us that we just absolutely couldn't waste the opportunities we had here. In America, you can make your dreams come true. And so that's when I think I would say we escaped the analysis paralysis and took action as soon as we got back. And that's what started our journey.
All right. And what was that first action?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kenneth, older brother, Deborah, you good.
Yeah, so Kenneth, he's touring properties in another state right now, so he wasn't able to get on. But he pretty much we got back and he'd been listening to wholesaling podcasts, and then he started watching a lot of YouTube. Eventually, that rubbed on us, and he was telling us we can do this. So I think we had like a few hundred in the bank, but he also took out some credit card debt, and we bought a list of data. We skip traced it, and then we just started cold calling. I was in 29. It was 2020, early 2020. I was a freshman in school, first year of college. And we were splitting time between studying. We really didn't have much of a social life, but we were doing studying, and then we would cold call. I'd cold call for like 2 hours. So that was really what we first started to do. And then COVID hit. They sent us home because we weren't allowed to stay in our dorms anymore due to the pandemic. And then that kind of was a blessing in disguise, in my opinion, because we now had a lot of time I went from being like a full-time student and half part-time in the business to full-time business and, like just trying to get by in school. Eventually dropped out after my freshman year, but it was about 5 months into our wholesaling business starting in January 2020. We got our first deal, And that all came from cold calling by ourselves. It was 9 to 8. We each had a dialer, and we would just get on it for as long as possible. We started with one dialer, and then we made some money, and then we were able to each get a dialer, so that now we could have a bigger pipeline. And obviously we started closing more deals as that happened.
That's great. So how did that process work? Did you talk to that seller multiple times?
Yeah.
And they said they want to sell, and you're like, now what do we do? Like, walk us through that.
Yeah, so we'd gone with multiple different, we had tried to get multiple different properties under contract. They all fell through for different reasons. But the first deal that we got was our biggest deal that we ever did. And it came from a follow-up. We were driving back from an appointment, a wholesaling appointment. It didn't go too well. And then the lady that we had tried to get under contract the week before called us back randomly and said she was ready to sign at the price that we offered. Originally, she planned on just holding on to it. So we're really big on follow-up. We had a CRM, Podio. I'm sure you guys have heard of it, but it was just very simple, nothing crazy, and ended up being a follow-up that called us back. We were able to get under contract, and then that next week we had some showings, and we were able to assign it for a pretty large amount. So that really just sparked our eyes into what exactly we can do, and we did that in 6 months of hard work, but by ourselves, pretty much self-education. Hadn't really invested in any mentorship or anything like that.
Let's go.
Come on with it.
What's going on, boys? How are y'all doing today?
Hey,
So,
good. And you?
how are you?
Good, man. Did y'all end up raising capital for that deal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We currently all over 60% full now, so just trying to close within the next 2 weeks.
All right. Congrats, man. And that's
Thank you.
awesome story. Diving in. So y'all got started with just cold calling, took out some credit cards, bought some data, skip traced it, and all from watching some YouTube videos. I love it. This is right in Matt and I's wheelhouse. And really it comes down to just getting out there and taking action. And I think that's what prohibits so many people from getting started investing in real estate is they've read the books, they've listened to the podcasts, they've maybe watched the YouTube videos, but they never, ever like actually get started. And if they do, I think a lot of people fall off on the second part by maybe they got the dialer, they skip traced the data, and they cold called for a week and they said, it's just not working. I'm going to go do something else. But you guys stayed committed to it for 6 months. You knew that it was going to take hard work and commitment and follow up, and it paid off. And that just opened your eyes to what's possible. And, now you are where you are. And I'm sure you'll have a long, long, long runway ahead of you with even more big and amazing things coming. But I love it. And, is there anything like within you guys that you think helped push you through the initial step of, taking that first step, and then second, working through maybe some negative thoughts or your mind telling you like, hey, this isn't working for those first 6 months that kept pushing you forward?
Yeah, well, one of our biggest whys is to retire our mom. She works really hard and she still works. So that's what kept us motivated. Like anything we were going through that was hard, she goes through every day. And also we had each other. We were honestly a built-in, mastermind on networking and just the energy. So when one of us was down, we would go to each other and like to be lifted. And that really helped us just remain accountable and keep our motivation up.
Yeah, and we were big on self-development, like you said. So by masterminding, we each like to read different books, and anything we learn, we'll share with each other. So by masterminding, we're just constantly talking about what we've learned. And if I'm having a bad day, I look at my two brothers who are working just as hard, if not harder, and it just immediately will lift you up. We're each focused on our own individual sectors of our business. So we're each taking wins, we each take losses, and just seeing that happen, and we're all in it together, is something that definitely keeps us going. But obviously reading the right books, listening to the right podcasts, really being careful with what information we let into our minds. We don't really watch the news that much, which may or may not be good to whoever's listening, but I think a lot of negativity is out there, and we're very protective of who we surround ourselves with, as well as what we listen to and what we read. We're very intentional about that. So doing all that, in my opinion, has enabled us to develop the mindset that we have, that allowed us to keep going. Because obviously, you guys know, being an entrepreneur, you face a lot of adversity. And growing up, we of course had our challenges. So I think a lot of people will look at adversity as a negative. In my opinion, I never looked at it as that. And I wondered, like, why are we in the place that we are in? Why are we entrepreneurs? Why is that something that came natural to us? I just think that we've gone through hard things. So anything that I face now is just doesn't seem at all that hard. It's really just more so, it's a lot of fun to me. And you asked me why do you keep going? In my opinion, like I was in school, it wasn't that fulfilling. I was getting really good grades. I had like a 4.0 GPA, and I learned that if I put a lot of time towards it, I'll get good grades. And I applied that same mindset to school. And I was just, I got so much more out of it. And the excitement I got from getting my first deal or almost getting my first deal, that made me, every day I got up like ready to go. And I was able to cold call, which is scary. It's really scary, to be honest. Like if you haven't done it, I'm sure like everyone, it's one of their biggest fears. And it was mine at first, but I was able to overcome that. So I apply that same mindset to everything, whether it's now in my multifamily business or just life in general.
Yeah, and just to quickly add to that, another thing, because I think motivation, there's like this misconception that motivation will always be there, and I don't think that's true. A lot of the books we read talk about building habits, and that's what has kept us showing up every day. Is like even when I don't want to do something, the habit of me doing it and the discipline I've built over time is what continues to push me and make sure that I remain accountable. So I think that the habit building has made a big difference.
Love it. You guys like David Goggins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love him.
Get hard, no excuses.
Exactly.
I love it, man. And the cold calling, like you're talking about, it is, I mean, it is scary if you've never done it before. And, but at the end of the day, it's not that bad, right? Someone you don't know told you no over the phone. Like what? That's the worst that can come from it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Just,
And I mean,
yeah,
it's pretty much, I feel like it applies to most aspects in business or life in general. The more uncomfortable you get, the more you'll grow. And we caught that on pretty early. So now just whatever business we're starting, and especially in the one that we're in now, which is multifamily, it's the same thing. Whenever I'm uncomfortable, I know that I'm growing. So I try not to be comfortable.
That's right. Push yourself. So talk us through, you did that first deal. Like what was the path to where you're at, and what does the business look like today?
Yeah, so we were successful in wholesaling. We had we have two rentals. I'm in single family space, and we also we did a flip. And we just noticed that single family real estate was a little transactional for our liking, and it wasn't really fulfilling our why, which is passive income. And we learned that multifamily was going to be the best way to do that as fast as possible. And so we wanted to take the straight path to financial freedom and to what we were in the business for at all. And so we just learned as much as possible. We took a month to just educate ourselves on multifamily, and then we networked. We joined the right groups, and now we're in a group that we work with. That's how we built the team that we're currently working with. We joined that team on the deal, and Jeffrey can actually give you some more info on that deal.
Yeah, and we're really just focusing on individual aspects of the business. In my opinion, it's raising money or investor relations, and then there's finding the deal. So Kenneth, my older brother, who's not on the call, he does the underwriting. He talks to brokers, goes out and tours properties. That's what he's doing right now. And I focus on the investor relations side of the business, as well as just strategic partnering is what I call it. So I'm just building relationships with people on the phone all day. And then Kerwin handles the marketing. So he's doing the podcast, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, pretty much every platform is we're present on, and that's important. But yeah, I mean, really just going out to networking events. That's probably the main thing that I like to do. Just meeting people in person, building those relationships. Then after I follow up with them. So yeah, I mean, it's not like it's not always the most fun thing, but we really do I enjoy talking to people. So we each try to focus on what we're good at.
Yeah, man, you guys need a nickname or something. I know you got your group name, but it's like Three Amigos, man.
Yeah.
Splitting it up and
Donis Brothers is what most people just started calling this. So
yeah. No, it's great. And I think what Alex is seeing too is, how long have you guys been doing this?
So we started when I was a freshman, so almost 2 years.
Okay. We've both been doing this for like 10 plus years. And what's super cool for us, me for sure, is we know what this path leads to. And it's kind of obvious to see that you guys are going to find success. And so it's cool for us to see y'all at a young age and to think about what does it look like in 5-10 years when we have you back on, and we have all this documented. So
yeah,
there's no reason you won't get there, especially if you have the right people and you divide and conquer and, follow some simple wisdom things from real estate, like not getting over leveraged and, having good teams and being consistent and just grinding, man. And so it's really cool. I'm excited for you guys. What would you guys say to people that, were or are where you guys were, or trying to get where you guys are as far as advice? Like, what's important, and what would you say to people that maybe have excuses, or maybe they think that they can't do this?
Yeah, I would say the main thing that we've seen pay off the most is putting ourselves in the right rooms. So we invested in our education, and we also invested to get into certain groups. We joined a mastermind group out of Dallas called Think Multifamily. It's just a really good group led by a really good individual who's doing exactly what we want to do. So obviously we're young, and if you're new to the business, I would say just by having someone on your team that has a lot more experience than you can learn and avoid all the mistakes that they made, as well as just help yourself by cutting your learning curve. And you can really just learn a lot by putting yourselves in rooms with better people. Like I said earlier, we're very, very selective with who we surround ourselves with. We're big on energy. We're big on, the influences that the circle that we're in is gonna give us. So we're very intentional and very, very selective about what we do with our time.
That's great. Yeah. So I'm super excited for you guys. What other things can you guys think that's important for this podcast or for listeners, or for you guys as well, that you might want to talk about or bring up while we're all here?
Yeah. I'll quickly add, kind of to follow up with what Jeff said. There's this quote that says, like, throughout life, you don't change. The only thing that changes are the books you read and the people you meet. And we're firm believers in that. So Jeffrey kind of touched on the importance of networking, but I also think it's really important to always be a reader and a lifelong learner. And so 2 books that I would recommend anyone read is Rich Dad Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich. Those 2 books I think are more than enough to be the catalyst for someone's entrepreneurial journey and to guide them. And there's so many valuable lessons there. So that's what I would tell the audience, to start there, and then they'll find their way.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love the, there's something about people in real estate that are always, a certain percentage of them are truly focusing on self-improvement. And, real estate's just a tool to help you get to where you want to go. But there's a lot of people that are in this business that are doing all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I also recommend Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki.
Nice. I got one for you guys if you want to check it out. It's called Trammell Crow Master Builder.
How do you spell that? Trumbull?
Trammell Crow is his name. TrammellCrow. He was maybe, in my opinion, he's one of the all-time greatest developers. And it's kind of just like his life story. So you guys might really like that one.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm definitely going to read it.
Thank you.
Let's go. All right. Well, what can we do, or what can our listeners do to add value for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just connect with us if you have any questions about learning more about what we do, multifamily, maybe passively investing. Just look us up on all platforms. Kerwin can give you more information on where to find us. But yeah, we're pretty active, so we'd love to help out in any way we can through social media.
Yeah, we're at Donis Brothers. That's DONIS Brothers on pretty much every platform. We also have a podcast. It's called the Real Estate Monopoly Podcast, and we hope to share every guest's story on the show, and also inspire and educate our audience.
That's awesome. You guys are inspiring, and I'm super excited to see what y'all do. And Alex and I are here to help you guys any way we can. Stay in touch with us, and we'll hopefully some of our listeners will reach out and just keep doing exactly what you're doing and keep building those relationships. So yeah, absolutely. I'm just really excited to see it. So is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we get out of here?
I think I'm good. If anyone has any questions, they can reach out. We're always open to being approached by anyone.
Keep hustling, guys. Y'all are killing it. And I mean, honestly, this is what Matt and I love to see. And because I mean, this is what we're doing, and so y'all are, like Matt mentioned, y'all are going to find a lot of success, no doubt. And honestly, I think that there's a bunch of doors that are going to open up if y'all continue to do what you're doing that y'all don't even know are there yet. And so just keep us updated, man. We're excited to see your journey.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Go get it, boys. Thanks.
Have a good one, guys.